Welcome to the Discover Uncover podcast series. I'm Todd Slisher, the Executive Director of the Sloan Museum of Discovery and Longway Planetarium in Flint, Michigan. Our mission is to engage communities on a learning journey in history and science. Sloan Museum is the caretaker of nearly 50,000 artifacts in the Flint region's fascinating past. Curator of Collections, Jeff Woodcox, and our Community Engagement Coordinator, Jerome Threlkeld, will take you on a journey back in time using the historical artifacts from our collection as a jumping-off point. We hope you come away with a deeper sense of Michigan's history and how the objects and stories of the past relate to today's culture, customs, and society. Thanks for tuning in, and we hope you enjoy the Discover Uncover podcast series.
Hello, and welcome to another edition of Discover Uncover podcast here at Sloan Museum of Discovery here in the great city of Flint, Michigan. I am joined by two wonderful people today, Curator of Collections here at Sloan, Jeff Woodcox, and our Anishinabek artist, Adam Avery. Hello, and welcome to both of you all.
Hello. Hello.
How are you today?
Good.
Good.
Yeah, doing great. And really excited to be here in this section today.
Well, I'm definitely excited. Jeff, we want you to tell us, how did we get here?
Yeah, absolutely. So right now we're in the Anishinabek people section of Sloan Museum's New History Gallery. And honestly, this is one of my favorite sections in the entire gallery. And a big part of that is the relationship and the partnerships that we built as we were developing this. We had started out working with the Zebewing Center of Anishinabek Culture and Lifeways up in Mount Pleasant, Michigan. And that's the tribal museum of the Saginaw Chippewa Indian tribe. They helped us out with the content in this section. So they were kind of going through line by line and telling us what was right, what was wrong, what we needed to include that we had missed, all of that.
Yeah, I was there for that.
You were there for that.
I was there for that. And I mean, it was like taking a red pen in high school and said, nope, that's wrong. And then replacing it with truth. And so, and that was a powerful moment. Yeah, thank you.
There was a lot of red ink.
To start with.
Yes. But as part of that process, they hooked us up with Adam here and also his partner, Ron Paquin. And they made a lot of the artifacts that were in this section. And so that was why I was really excited when we had an opportunity to invite Adam down here to talk about his work.
Yeah, so Adam, how are you?
I'm doing good. Feeling good.
That's amazing, man. Tell us, how did you get started with the art that you do?
I started really doing this stuff for my family. Growing up, we had a family dance group, and we traveled all over the United States and Canada performing, teaching, native dance, and also, speaking about the Anishinaabe ways, different crafts. But I started doing beadwork at first so that I could make stuff for myself, for my regalia, and then started, as an extension of that, doing it for, my siblings, some of my cousins, and then it just, once people saw I could do it, it just continued to grow and grow. And, now I'm completely, sustaining myself and my family just by doing my artwork, and making the things that I make and putting them out there for the world.
That's awesome. I would love for us to go back. We'll get back to the actual works of your hands. But there's something that is, there's two things I want to talk about. One is you and our story stones tell us how Michigan got its name and how to actually pronounce it the Anishinaabe way. I would love for you to share that. And then I also learned that your family or history may be tied to the Flint area. So if you don't mind, just talk about those two.
Well, the Ojibwe word for turtle is Meshikan, and the name of our state is Michigan. Now, in certain areas, regional dialect for the Anishinaabe, they swap G's and K's. So in one area they may say Meshikan, in another area they may say Michigan, right? Okay. And then that just got manipulated a little bit. They dropped the long E sound, non-native people trying to say it, and it became Michigan. But the name of our state basically is the Ojibwe word for turtle, Meshikan. And a little bit of history, like, the tribes obviously a long time ago lived along waterways. That was their, main way of travel. It provided most of their food. So my family lived along, the rivers, and the first intended reservation for the Saginaw, Swan Creek, and Black River bands of Ojibwe was the Flint River. And the original intended reservation ran along the Flint River all the way to Bay City, so it was a pretty large tract of land.
Yeah, and in fact, that's part of why if you come to the History Gallery, you'll see that we have this kind of stylized river on the gallery floor, and it starts in the Anishinaabe section. It's because the river is really what drew people here, from my understanding.
Yep. Well, and it ended up even being for non-native people, it was their way in to the state, but it was also their way to get things out. So the rivers became the way for removing lumber, different things. So, the Anishinaabe, they say water is life.
Yes.
And it is. It doesn't matter what group you're from, they're all attracted to those waterways.
That's awesome. So, with our partnership with Ziva Wing, Jeff mentioned that we were connected to you. We were almost told that we had to go and work with Adam and Ron. So, Jeff, you want to talk about that process of how you actually contacted them and how we got these beautiful artifacts here?
Well, yeah, as I remember, I think I reached out to Ron first.
Yes.
Maybe. And yeah, we just had a conversation, and of course it was virtual because it was early 2021 and we were in the pandemic times, and just kind of talking about what we wanted and what their skill sets were. And Adam was able to make a lot of the beadwork, a lot of the clothing that we have in this section. Ron and Adam worked together on the teaching lodge that we have behind us here.
The canoe.
The canoe as well. So what was your favorite of all the stuff that you made for us?
I mean, I love doing beadwork. I do a lot of different things, but beadwork for me is my piece. So the bandolier bag that's behind us is definitely one of my favorite things. The men's regalia as well. But I kind of made it a personal goal after working on this bandolier bag that I'm going to make at least one bandolier bag a year for as long as I'm able to do that. And I'm actually one bag ahead. Since I did this project with you guys, I've already produced 3 more bandolier bags, 3 or 4,
Awesome.
and I'm gonna continue to do that every year.
So how long did it take you to get to the point where you're at now, as far as skill?
I mean, I've been beading since I was 13.
Okay.
Even prior to that, my grandma taught me to string up necklaces and things. But then at the age of about 13, I decided I wanted to learn more in depth so that I could make my own regalia, and make it however I wanted. So I started learning to sew, a lot of the things were self-taught. Like I just figured it out myself. And then it's just expanded. And then throughout my life, anytime I've had an ability to learn from somebody, I tried to take advantage of that. And that's how I came to meet Ron. I learned that he was a canoe builder, and I approached him about wanting to learn to make canoes. He was actually retiring. And then I offered to help him do all of his harvesting if him and I could continue to do it together, and then, me learn from him. And him and I have been working together now for 12 years, and he's 81, he's still doing it,
To me, Ron was 69 when he was getting ready to retire.
Well, I think he was 70, oh, no, it was, yeah, it would have been right, yeah.
Man.
Yeah. Because when I met him, he actually had, just before that, he had a couple of bear encounters. So his wife, Molly, was like, I don't think I want you going to the woods.
I don't want to go to the woods. Just hearing about the bear.
The bears, because they spook easy. You can spook a bear. But Ron, I've been out with Ron and wolves, come out. And the first, Ron was like, oh, look at that deer, because it was at a distance. And I'm like, that's not a deer, Ron, And then he's like, oh, yeah, it's a wolf, But so, when you're in the UP doing that stuff, you're going to have encounters with bears, wolves. I mean, there's cougars up there, So you gotta
Okay,
be mindful.
Let's go here. You said that you can spook a bear easy. I want the bear to know it can spook me very easily.
Now that's something I would pay to see.
Big bear chases me.
So Ron was on a ladder up a tree, collecting birch bark, right?
Yeah.
The bear climbed up his ladder and was looking around him like, "What are you doing?" So the bear was curious. The bear was wondering what was going on.
The bear was curious of what Ron was doing.
Yeah.
Okay.
So Ron's on the ladder, and he's got a knife, and you make like a slit in the bark so that you can check it. And the bear was just looking around like, what's he getting from this tree? Is there something up there? Like the bear is curious. So, it did. And then when Ron turned and saw it, he made a noise, obviously. He was like, oh, and the bear just bolted.
Okay.
Like the bear was scared and bolted because it didn't know what was going on.
This is good. This is good information if I'm ever chased up a tree by a bear.
But like right before I met him, he had 2 encounters like that. So his wife was like, I don't think I want you doing this anymore. You're out there all by yourself. So then I started doing it with him, and we had to get permission from his wife. We talked to Molly, and then Molly said, "You're going to go with him," and I said, "Yeah." So ever since then, him and I usually spend 2 to 3 weeks every summer up there with him, at least, and then beyond that, we've become such close friends.
That's awesome. So I was in the UP once.
Oh, here it comes.
Doing a training, and we went to the client's house, and we were eating dinner, and all of a sudden it got really dark, and they was telling us about, the Wolverine that was killing, animals and stuff like pets, and so I'm already on edge, because I'm from downstate, I'm the city. I don't like raccoons like that. So we're sitting there, and my back is to the front door. All of a sudden, we hear the door open. So I'm already nervous, and I turn around, and it's this big Marmaduke-looking dog. Dog let itself in, Adam.
Like, how did it open the door?
I have no idea, but they said it had done it before. But he came in like this, like real big, and I screamed. I fell out on the floor. It was horrible.
Well, if we do the canoe build, we're going to have to get you up there.
With a camera. We got to have a camera on you.
No way.
I have GoPros. We'll each wear a GoPro.
You want me to do what?
Go harvest with us.
Oh, no, I just love what you all do. See, there are places you can go, and there's places I can go. I don't think you want me up there.
It would be so much fun.
It probably would. You all would be laughing at me the whole time.
No, you would love it. You would love it. It really is like once you get out on the land and then you're doing the harvesting and that forms a connection, right?
Yeah.
So like a lot of people really, and they don't even realize that they're missing that connection. And then when you go out and you do that stuff, just if you feel it even just a little bit, it'll make the hair stand up on your arms. Look, I'm just talking about it, right?
Yeah.
And it'll make the hair stand up on your arms. Like it's a beautiful feeling,
Now, Jeff did take me to the UP.
I did.
Yeah, he took me to Quamanum Falls.
Oh, that's beautiful.
And it was absolutely amazing. I mean, I talked about it for months, and it's still one of the most beautiful things I've seen. So maybe, Adam, you might be able to get me. But for a couple weeks, I don't know, maybe a day or two.
Yeah, we could just, because if you went up even just for a couple of days, you could see how we harvest birch bark. You could see how we dig up the spruce root, how we do all that harvesting. We did that with these other communities. Very small, just a couple hours one day and then a couple hours another day. Not like we didn't make them do all of the harvesting. We just introduced them to it. But you could do the same thing, and then once you see that, once the people from these other communities saw it, they're like, we could do this. We could do this. And then they start, like Bay Mills is already planning their next canoe build themselves, which is awesome.
I definitely want to bring that downstate, the canoe build. Definitely want to bring that here.
Like people are drawn to it. You start doing it. So we did one a few years ago at the the kids come in and me and Ron give them bone holes, and they're punching holes in birch bark and sewing with spruce root. And the teachers, were like, I've never seen these kids that quiet for that long. Mm-hmm. But it's something like, once you start doing it, the connection, like even young kids, you don't have to explain it to them. It's just a natural thing. We did 2 canoe builds this summer with the Bay Mills Indian community and the Sault Ste. Marie Band of Chippewa Indians. And then Ron also built another canoe after that with his grandson, teaching his grandson the skill.
That's awesome. Just thinking about the bag that's behind, the beautiful under bag behind us. How long does it take to make?
Those, like, depending on basically how I design it, I can spend anywhere from 2 to 3.5 months beating one of those. The one that I did for the museum here, the Sloan, I think I completed it in a little over 2 months, but that was during the pandemic. You couldn't go anywhere, so I was sitting and beating like 12 hours a day.
Okay.
So it was like really getting after it.
For our listeners, what is the significance of that bag?
Well, for the Ojibwe people, they were kind of almost like a sign of like dignity or respect. So they started off, mainly men wore them, and then women were allowed to carry them at first if they were a widow, okay, or if it was passed down from their father, So, but over time, it's just become like now it's commonplace to see people wearing them at powwows. Doesn't matter, if they're male, female, what age. Like people are just attracted to them, and they love them. There's been a huge resurgence in the past just 10 years, for people to go more toward woodland style beadwork at powwows. When I was young, you would barely ever see a bandolier bag. Now they're commonplace. You go to a powwow, you see 40 of them, 50 of them,
wow.
And it's beautiful.
Well, we're sitting here behind this teaching lodge, and it is amazing. Where did the wood come from?
The UP, Ron lives in the Upper Peninsula, so we do most of our harvesting in the UP. The poles are maple saplings, and the bark is cedar. Traditionally, they would have used birch bark for a lot of this,
okay,
but it's hard now to find a lot of big birch bark trees. When settlers first started coming into the area, you could take the bark off a birch bark tree, and you could remove panels that were 4 foot by 8 foot, 4 foot by 20 foot.
Really?
So it would be very easy to cover a lodge with sheets of birch bark that big. Well, now it's getting harder and harder to find trees that are big enough to do that. So they're using cedar bark, elm bark, different barks for the outside of the lodges so that they can kind of save the birch bark for other things.
That's amazing.
Yeah, this is a very interesting piece for me in the gallery. For one thing, it's an immersive classroom space that when we have school groups visiting, they can actually sit inside the lodge, which I think, makes the lessons that they're being taught, a lot more immersive, just a different kind of connection. So that's why we wanted to have this in here.
Oh yeah, the thing I love about this section the most is the personal learning that I garnered from connecting with Zebu-Wing, our family, our Anishinabek family. They've given us permission to say we're family. And so just how we actually took the authentic approach and build relationships and trust with each other. I think this is community engagement at its best for me, being authentic. We acknowledge some harms on our end. You want to talk about the NAGPRA? Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah, so really this all got started with federal law, believe it or not.
Yeah.
The Native American Graves Protection and Repatriation Act, NAGPRA is what they call it. And the basic gist of the law is museums are not supposed to have Native American human remains in their collection. And so we worked with Zebu-Wing in 2018, 2019 to go through a repatriation process for the remains of 9 human beings who we had in our collection. They had been with us since 1945 when they were disturbed from a burial mound. And that's about all we know about them. There were children included with this as well. And so at the end of this process, it involves, posting to the Federal Register, which is this federal site. At the end of this whole process, we were invited to participate in the recommitment to the Earth ceremony. And that was kind of the basis of this relationship, just kind of doing the right thing.
Yeah. How has things changed for you or been better for you since connecting with us and getting all this beautiful work in this space? Hopefully your phone is ringing off the hook. And
It actually has. It's been crazy since I did this project, and the entire time that I've been working just off my art. This past year was like record setting for me, and I have been just nonstop. I have 4 projects going at home right now, hoping to complete, by the first of the year, pretty close. And it's showing no signs of stopping. My wife and I have been teaching in various Indian communities, Bay Mills, the Sioux Band that I spoke about earlier. We're in talks with a couple of other groups right now, but we're mainly teaching regalia making. We do a lot of different things, moccasins, belts, all the sewing, the beadwork that you see. My wife does applique, floral work and stuff. So now we're just teaching that to other communities so that they will have people in their communities that can do that instead of looking for people or trying to find someone. The goal is to kind of set each one of these communities up to be self-sufficient, and have their own people that they can go to in those communities to learn those teachings. So, but this past year has been kind of a blur, but it's been amazing in a good way. And we've formed so many great connections, friendships with people in all these communities. Like, it's just been unreal. And it's really been almost like a healing, for our whole family, because even when we go, even our kids, they're accepted into these communities, they're forming friends in these communities,
Yeah.
and it's just been beautiful.
Adam, we just thank you so much for all that you've done, the work of your hands that live in this space. And if you have not had an opportunity to come and visit the New History Gallery here at Sloan Museum of Discovery in Flint, Michigan, you need to get here. You need to come and see the wonderful beadwork and the wonderful works of the hands of Adam and his partner Ron, and just come and get yourself immersed in this space to learn and have some moments of discovery for yourself. Again, we want to thank you for tuning in to Discover Uncover podcast. If you have some questions or you have a burning thing that jumped up for you during this time, we would love for you to give us a call at 810-237-3417 or send us an email at podcast@sloanlongway.org. We will be ready to listen and hear what you have to say, and hopefully even bring some answers back to our next podcast. Again, I want to say thank you, Adam, for being here with us.
Thank you, Jerome.
Thank you, Jeff, for being the brain behind a lot of this operation. And thank you for tuning in. Have an amazing day.